Okay, so welcome. This is 15 Minutes with Blake. I'm your host, Blake Linklater, and on the show today is Clare Baukham with Clearwealth Group. Clare, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Totally appreciate it. So like we said, a show's usually about 15 minutes. I like to give some tips to the audience and some action plans and your story about how you got into the business and any advice and one action steps that you can go to help elevate people's business and their mindset. So let's get right into it. Tell me about it. So how did you get into the business? And like, what's your story and what do you do? How did you get into
So
it?
I actually started as an options trader back probably about 12, 13 years ago now. And I was trading the US markets, all the high beta stocks. I had a lot of people who wanted me to trade their money for them. Turns out you need a license for that in Canada. So I actually went to a different firm and I was doing a lot of cold calling. They would not allow me to be licensed yet. So I thought, okay, I'm not really making hours in the business yet. So we were allowed to cold call only to prospect for new clients from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So I ended up making 3,500 to 4,000 calls a week. And in this day and age, even 10 years ago, I didn't feel like that was a very good way to prospect because it's not very personable, right? So I left them and I went and I worked for a different company called Investors Group, where I thought, okay, this is great. I'm now a licensed advisor. I will get my hours in the business and then I'll get out of here and go start my hedge fund because that was really what my passion was. But then I met my mentor, Ralph Weeks, and he was one of the top guys in the company. He was one of the top advisors in Canada. So I met him a little bit later after I started, and he took me under his wing and he started teaching me all of these completely outside the box strategies. So I stuck with him. And once I started learning those strategies, I thought this is a really amazing way to actually help people become wealthy. So I've stuck with it. And since then, I've moved over to a new firm. I'm now with Mandeville Private Client because I wanted to be a little bit more elite and increase my offerings to clients. So now I am blessed because I'm also working with billionaire Michael Leachin, who's the founder and chairman of our firm. So I get that exposure as well.
Awesome. So 3,500 calls, let's call it 4,000 a week. How many cold calls is that a day? Because that's going to make it more like manageable for the and for me. Like what is?
Yeah, so it was 800 calls a day. So I was there 12 hours. So that was, I'd have to make 67 calls an hour.
And that's just like pick up the phone and dial, right?
Yeah.
So it literally puts I joke in this industry, it's like, oh, what are you doing? Like you're smiling and dialing. And that is literally what you were doing then.
100%. It was just go, go, go. Keep don't stop. And if you stop, the guys would come, the actual advisors would come around and say, hey, get back on the phone. It was like the movie Boiler Room. I was like, this is not for me. This is not for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And so now tell me about your business now. Obviously, you're not dialing, you're working with millionaires and business owners, but tell me a little more detail about your business now because you're or maybe you are still smiling and dialing too.
But. No, I'm not. I don't like it that way. I like to create relationships with my clients. So now, because I moved out of the mutual fund only sales world and a captive firm and into a more independent world. So Mandeville Private Client, we call it MPC. It's opened up a whole new world for clients. So I've become IROC licensed. We're going to become a portfolio manager. So that opens things up even further for clients where we can start to create our own mutual funds if we like. And the other thing about this firm is that we have access to private investments, right? So if you look at all of the Yale Endowment Fund or CPP, they all have private in there as well, not just the stuff that everyone else has access to. So this gives us access to more elite investments, but also more elite strategies. And being around the people I'm around, it helps. It helps all the people who are already affluent, but we look to make people who are not affluent become part of that, 1 to 4% in Canada as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And so as you know, that this podcast is about elevating your business and your mindset. And I always like to hear about people's successes. So what's been your biggest success today?
Other than my my amazing son. He's going to turn 4 in 2 weeks. And honestly, marrying my husband is incredible. I'm blessed because I know a lot of relationships, especially through COVID, broke down. We just became stronger, and now he works on my team, and he does all of our business development and marketing. And so basically I have a new boss, which is my husband, which I'm totally okay with. I love it. I just want to be bossed around at the end of the day. No, but other than that, I think my biggest success has been growing my business from scratch. I know I think it's wonderful to have a succession where you're like, I'm sure one day my son will take over my practice. Maybe not, maybe he doesn't want to. But I think that's wonderful, but I never got a handout. I never got a succession. I never inherited anything. So because I actually buying, we did a few book buying, helping other advisors retire. But I think that's my biggest success is growing this thing from scratch and keeping in the business, because as you know, this is a very, very difficult business, especially now that we don't have any DSC. So we don't get any commissions, right? So we have just trailer fees, right? So that has definitely been the staying power, I think, has been my biggest success.
That's good. And you know what, it is a known fact that like only 10% of advisors are around after 5 years. And I think that number may even be smaller, but
I think so too. Yeah. So it's huge. I mean, anyone who's still in the business after a few years should be proud of themselves, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
Tell me about the challenges of working with your partner. I mean, I see a lot of advisors do that, and then some who are like, no, I never want my spouse in there. And it totally depends on the relationship, but obviously there's some challenges because you're together 24 hours a day almost. So tell me about
that's the interesting thing is we feel like we never see each other. So once Henrik, my son, goes to bed, it's like he's like, my husband Andrew will say, okay, yeah, I'll see you in bed and we'll have a chat. we'll talk about the marketing strategy later, right? So because we're in bed at like 9 o'clock because we're back. He's up at 4:15. I'm up at 5. I can't do the 4:15 thing. So we're like passing ships in the night kind of thing, right? So we don't actually get to see that much of each other. However, since we started together, he's only joined us a few months ago. I feel like such a beautiful cohesiveness because our household has such massive dreams. We want, the private jet. We want to be billionaires. So, and in the same sense, we want to bring our clients to that same level, right? So I think it's helped us all. My mentor, Ralph, always says, if you have enough people rowing in the same direction, you will be unstoppable. So I think for us, it just felt more like, okay, now we're going to be unstoppable. So it's actually helped our relationship as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Opposite. Yeah.
What's been some of your biggest failures or a lesson you wished you learned earlier?
Yeah, this one is huge for me. Putting too much time into, I call them dusty advisors. If you're newer in the business, you probably know what that means. The advisors have been around, but they're not really doing anything. And I don't mean that as a major insult, but it's kind of tongue in cheek, I guess. They're stuck in their ways. I worked with one for a while. We did do some business together, which was wonderful. He was an amazing human being. But as an advisor, I got away from what really worked well for me and my clients. And I got into that same old inside the box routine. So he kind of changed my mindset in terms of my sales practices. And honestly, it was focused too much on drama. So I feel like I wasted a lot of time there. Would I be further ahead now? Probably yes, but it's okay. I think you have to learn those lessons. It's just there's a lot of noise out there. So, and Ralph will attest to this. My husband, Andrew, will attest to this, but you really have to keep those blinders on no matter what you're doing.
It's so true. Like keeping the blinders on. And, like I've been in the business as an advisor since 2013. And like when we talk about my biggest lesson was learning to trust your gut and to go with it, because I've switched firms, a few times, and like I should have listened to my gut more. And because like you just said, there's lots of people, there's lots of people who will say they help you and won't. There's lots of noise out. I think the best way to put it is there's lots of noise out there.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different ways to build this business, and everybody kind of thinks their way is the best.
Yeah, and I think that the other problem is the advisors who are senior now to you and I, for example, they're giving you advice like for example, I loved my RD, my regional director at Investors Group, but their idea was still to cold call when I joined the business. And I think that all of these people, even if they're super successful, they're still using practices that they used way back when in the 70s and 80s and 90s when they started, but those things they're not working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So yeah, you need to not listen to the noise and do your own thing. Definitely.
Yeah. So how do you find your clients now? What are some of your marketing strategies? I see you, I follow you on Instagram, so
Yeah.
I'm sure that's one or two methods, and maybe TikTok. I don't know. My kids have TikTok accounts. I don't. Maybe I should for their reason, but that's a different story.
I haven't gotten into TikTok. I have it. I've posted, I think, one video on it. I feel like it's clients are sending me a lot of videos from TikTok and they're like, is this true? And it's like, no, they're so unprofessional, right? And so they're not licensed. They don't know what they're talking about. So maybe we should be putting ourselves on there as licensed individuals to battle them. But I'm sure that that's part of our grand scheme of our marketing program. But now I don't want to use the old, I just get referrals. I do get a lot of referrals. It's amazing from our client base, because if you're doing good for people, they're going to send you more people. However, especially if you're trying to grow, that's not the only way, obviously. So we do email marketing. Because my husband does all of the marketing and business development for us now, we're going to be working on at least 2 seminars a month, but they're going to be like a little bit less formal, like a workshop online, like a webinar. We did a few in the spring, we took a break for the summer, and we were able to find people either who knew us through someone, and then we started advertising, doing sponsored ads on like Facebook and Instagram, and that was how we found our people. So, but I do have a little bit more of a niche as well. Typically, I work with either professional women or women who I personally believe that being a stay-at-home mom is a profession because it's so hard. Because we also homeschool my son, so I know what it is to be home with someone like that, with a little guy. So we find people through that niche, but we also work with business owners. I think it's important that you don't niche yourself down too much in the beginning, because you need to kind of have a blanket and find what that is. I know there were very successful, who you know as well, Blake, advisors who just work with doctors. That's great once you find that. But also his dad was the chief of surgery or something like that. So, it just naturally found him, right? So that's the way I find my clients. I think that anyone who says to you, we just get referrals, I don't think they're doing enough.
Yeah, I would agree. Like anybody who says they're just getting referrals, I think you need to do more, because there's too many other things that can go wrong, and it's out of your hands.
Exactly. I'm waiting for someone to refer me to someone when the conversation happens to come up. Well, I need to grow more than that.
Yeah.
I have huge goals for the next year. Like, how am I going to hit those with just relying on other people, right?
Yeah. So let's go on. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see in your clients or prospects or potential clients? Let's just narrow down what's one, or let's say two of the biggest mistakes you see that people make with their finances.
Fear and procrastination. So time and our health are the most valuable assets that we have. Fear, because I think that they think that, we're big, scary people, right? Advisors. So I think people are afraid to be sold on something, or they're afraid that we might be right and that they're not doing enough. It's kind of like, I'm a big fitness person as well, right? And it's kind of like, someone will not go to, say, my trainer, Steph. They will not go to her because they don't want Steph to tell them, okay, this is what you need to be eating and this is how much exercise. People don't want to hear it, right? So that procrastination is there. However, a year from now, I looked at a picture of myself. I lost 53 pounds in the last year because after Henrik and then after we were pregnant with the second one, which unfortunately we lost. But after that, I could not lose weight and get myself back to where I was. However, a year's going to go by whether I do something about it or not. So a year's going to go by whether you do something with your finances or not. So you can still be broke at the end of a year, or we can get a strategy in place for you and you can feel amazing in a year from now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm a big believer in that, like, if you change your health, your finances or other areas of your life will change too. And like, I think you just said it there. You lost 53 pounds, in a year. So kudos to you for that. And again, my condolences on losing the child. But I bet in that same time that your business probably grew rapidly in that last year and a half, 2 years.
Totally. We grew exponentially. And it's just been, I think for us after that loss, it was like, okay, we can sit here and dwell and feel bad. Or I used to be a fitness athlete, so it was in my blood, right? Like a competitive athlete. But I thought, okay, what can I focus on? I want to focus on my family, Andrew and Henrik. I'm going to focus on my fitness and my clients, not in that order, all kind of equal. But I thought those are the three things I'm going to seriously focus on in the next year. And mindset is always in there as well for me as well, right? But and then when I did that, the changes were unbelievable. Was it hard? You bet. People ask me, so I saw a lady in the grocery store and she stopped me and she said, "Why do you look so good?" And I said, "Excuse me." And she said, "Why is your stomach so flat?" And I said, she says, "Well, what did you do?" And my husband's hearing this. He says, "Oh boy, yeah, she has no idea." He says, "It's hard for you to explain the work that goes into it." Just like what we do, because you have clients as well, right? It's hard for us to explain. It looks like we're just, this is, it's fun. We're an advisor. We advise. No. The strategy and the studying that goes into what we do is unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I think more and more, and you'll see it more in the future, call it behavioral coaching, call it financial therapy. I've heard many buzz. There's a lot of, I'm going to call it financial coaching with clients to help to get through behaviors and some mindset and to learn to spend it and do other things that go unnoticed and are really, really, really hard to measure. How do you measure something like that? And that's a back burner project I'm working on, but but it goes unnoticed.
I've had many clients call me in tears in the last little while. I've had male clients call me in tears and just say, I lost a job. What do I do? How do I do? What's my next step? And we take on the role of almost like a marriage counselor, a career coach. I've even talked to clients about what they're going to wear to an event and what's appropriate, for professionalism, right? So we kind of wear many hats, but that's also what I love the most about this business as well, right?
Cool. All right, so we're coming up to near the end. There's thousands of advisors, there's hundreds of thousands of advisors out there. What makes you different than other ones? You touched on a little bit of already, but let's, go in a little deeper. What makes you different?
Okay, my billionaire mentor would say, he says to me, I have all the qualities that you need to be super successful, that I'm brave. However, my also extremely successful mentor, Ralph, of 10 years, he said that I had what it took and my ability, he calls it dancing. My ability to dance was what brought me to where I am. What that means is I have this ability to deal with people where it doesn't matter if you say this, I know what the answer is. If I plan all the things that you possibly could say to me. It's very hard to catch me off guard, right? My ability to learn the strategies and also I've heard this from clients and from friends, my unwavering determination for success. I will not. I saw a girlfriend. I've been friends with her for 25 years. She said, "You're nuts. You have this unwavering determination and tenacity. You're like the Terminator. You will not quit until you are a billionaire, until your clients are billionaires or multi-millionaires." She says, "You're nuts. Until you're super fit." She says, "You just don't give up." So I think that's what makes me different.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I think determination, like persistence, is the number one factor to succeed in anything. Just an unwillingness to quit. And with the interviews I've done, and even looking at other successful people in any area, like determination has been one of the prerequisites, has been one of the things that just kept them going.
Yeah.
Regardless. So.
Oh yeah. Perseverance, determination. Yeah.
All right. Lastly, for anybody who's listening, what's one action they can take today to help them move closer to their goals, or to their whatever that may be, goals of finance, since you're in that field?
You're not going to like it. They're not going to like it. So I'm sorry, everyone. I deal with a lot of younger advisors now that I'm a little bit more seasoned, I guess. And you got to put your ego to the side. Even if you think you don't have an ego, trust me, you do. You have to put your ego to the side, find the most successful mentor you can, whoever you want to be like, look at that person and think, do I want to be like that person in 10 years from now? If that person, the way they are right now, if I want to be like them, great. If you don't, then find somebody else. Listen and do what they say. They're successful. They're in that position for a reason, right? I've surrounded myself with the most successful people I could find, and I continue to do so. So I keep now I'm, working with Ralph. I'm working with Michael Leachin. I'm finding the most successful people in my circle that I can attach myself to, and I'm listening. I shut my mouth and I listen and I do what they say. You have to have kind of like I don't know what else to say, is just you be humble. They're there for a reason. If you want to learn from them, just listen.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, with that, again, thanks again. How can people get a hold of you if they want to reach with you, if they want to work with you, if they have questions? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free. We love helping other advisors anytime, no problem. My Instagram, you can follow at Clearwealth Group. You can follow at Clare Baukham. Find me on LinkedIn. You'll find me. Just check out my name here, Clare Baukham. Or you can look at our website if you want, clearwealthgroup.com. But you can find me in many places. Kind of Google Clare Baukham and you'll find me.
Perfect. Thank you, Claire. And thank you, audience. As always, I'd love to hear what you guys thought about this episode. Any ideas, what you liked, what you disliked. And again, you can hit me up on all social media platforms at Blake Linklater. And enjoy the day. And there you have it with Clare Baukham. And talk to you next week.